Hey guys, happy Friday. I'm back and I'm going to be discussing, I think, a really important topic I initially saw it on Erica's Precious Nursery, my friend Erica's channel. And it's a question that she had asked, and we have personally chatted because we're friends. We chat quite a bit. I'm just swirling up the magic milk in her emulate bottle. So I initially saw this topic because Erica had raised the question on her latest video. So I will link her channel below and the video that I'm referencing so you can check out her initial conversation about it in question. And the question is latex safe to use with our silicone dolls? And I think this is important because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there that's kind of being passed around amongst newer collectors, even newer silicone painters, silicone artists, that I want to share my experience on it, and also the information that I acquired not only through like the high-end silicone artists that I've purchased from over the years, but also the research that I've done, because I've done a deep dive because out of curiosity. I work in research, so it's kind of my curiosity to understand and know how things work and actually get facts before speaking on it. And so ultimately, I, of course, because I have Monroe, who is made by Claire Taylor Silicone, Claire Taylor Dolls, and she only uses smooth-on platinum cured silicone. So it matters to understand the science behind what the product is made from, to understand if there's going to be a reaction with it or if it's safe to use with it. So there's a lot of information I try to put out there, like good safety measures when you have a silicone doll, like, just good habits, good practices when you own a silicone doll to ensure the longevity of said silicone doll. So I can only speak to platinum cured silicone that's made by Smooth-On, because I've actually done the deep dive of looking at what goes into making the silicone and also what can interact with or cause a reaction with. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. So, and I'm going to share, hold on, I got to let my dog in my office. Come on in. Go lay down. Sorry, guys. Okay, so what I'm going to share is what knowledge I have on it, based on not only what people have said to me over the years, but also I have seen when a reaction with latex and silicone has occurred. So I'm going to try to explain to you what the potential reaction could be and why. So let's start with platinum cured silicone. So I'm referencing Smooth-On silicone because that's the product that Claire uses to make her babies, her Edition babies, and all of her dolls that I'm aware of. And she also uses only the Smooth-On paint products, matting products. So everything that she uses on the dolls, minus the eyes, minus the hair, is a Smooth-On product, so that she can ensure that everything works together, that it cures properly, because there's multiple curing processes that happen as the doll gets made. So understanding that silicone is essentially, it's a man-made rubber substance, okay? And then let's look at latex. Latex is a natural rubber substance. Two different things. So latex has a breakdown rate much quicker than silicone. So that's why silicone is used for casting and molds of many things, including prosthetics. It's the longest lasting. If platinum cured silicone is cured properly and handled properly, stored properly, and taken care of, then it can last up to, they say the shelf life, if it's properly cured, can be 45 years or longer. That's a Smooth-On product. I can't speak for any other silicone product other than Smooth On. So this is Smooth On related, and you can find that information through their website. They have a plethora of information where you can ask questions, you can see different information, you can do a deep dive into the products that they sell. So now let's take a look at, let's talk about latex. Latex as in like latex pacifiers, latex nipples for bottles. So anything that's approved for use for babies is generally 100% natural latex rubber products. So the issue with latex rubber products is that the shelf life, even if it's sitting, never touching air, it starts to break down. It's just naturally, just whatever's in the air can affect the latex to start breaking it down. Add water to it. Again, anything in the water can add issues, and that's why it starts to break down. Add lubrication. Again, another component with even if it's water-based, it has other things in it, other chemicals that start to break down a latex pacifier or nipple. That's why if you look at majority of baby products, they say that you should replace them every 4 to 6 weeks. That's the generalized lifespan when using a latex product for a baby. And so therefore, even if you never wet the pacifier that's made of latex, the latex naturally just starts to break down. And if you've ever watched what happens to latex when it does break down, it's really gross. First it starts to crack, then it starts to get gummy and sticky, and then it starts to liquefy, and then eventually like all of whatever keeps it held together just falls apart. And the air alone, like if you actually look it up of what the breakdown of latex and how it happens, just the air alone can start to break it down. So that brings us back to, is latex safe to use with our silicone babies? I know many out there are kind of like, why are you guys always saying that it's not safe? I've never seen anything happen. I put it in my doll's mouth and I take it back out, or I haven't seen anything happen, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you've been lucky up until now, because I have actually seen more than one reaction with a silicone doll with a latex pacifier in its mouth, and it has discolored, it has stuck to the silicone, it has just ruined it essentially, because I don't know whether it eats away exactly at the silicone, but it did enough damage that it wasn't fixable. At least the occurrence that I had seen. And this is, you know, you got to kind of take into consideration that I've been in this hobby before silicones even existed. So I've watched the evolution of silicone dolls come into the hobby, and the trials and errors of making silicone dolls and finding out what does react with them and what doesn't, and why I put out the information that I do. It's based on the fact that things have happened. I've watched horrors happen to dolls, both silicone and vinyl, like clay dolls, you name it. I've seen the gamut, because I've been in the hobby for, you know, well over 20 years. So once you see something like that occur, it's just, you err on the side of caution. If you use a latex nipple once in your doll's mouth, is it going to ruin the doll? No. But the problem or the challenge that occurs is that you don't know if latex is breaking down initially. You can't look at it and go, yep, that looks like it's fine, because you may not know. It may not be clear just by looking at it. So like you see a lot of times where, well, maybe not a lot of times, but I've shared where I take a latex pacifier and then I coat it with silpoxy, because it's silicone. And silpoxy is safe to use with our silicone dolls. Now the outside of it, this little rubber piece, it's already starting to get a little tacky. And I haven't had this very long, because it's, you know, I'd make it all gummy and gooey. It'd be hard to kind of coat this, but this protects it from the oxidation. Am I saying that right? Tongue twister. By coating it, it will prolong the life of this, and that makes it safe to put in her mouth. However, this will probably break down and it'll fall apart before anything because it is exposed to air. And I think I've put this in her mouth once. But the whole idea is, why would you want to risk it? That's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's up to each collector to assess the risk. If you're making a video and you want to feed your doll with a latex bottle nipple and it's just for the video and you're not leaving anything in the doll's mouth, yeah, it's probably fine. I think that most silicone artists, the longest out there, the ones that have been doing it for the longest period of time, will tell you that it's just not worth the risk. But as long as you don't leave latex in the mouth of the doll, it's probably okay. However, I err on the side of caution. And when you put a blanket statement out there that latex is safe to use with our silicone dolls, people don't go deeper to understand, okay, just for a picture or for a video and then you take it back out, it's safe. People just go, oh, it's safe. So a lot of people that use like these pacifiers and they leave them in their doll's mouth, over time, if that latex starts to break down, that's where the reaction occurs. Not to mention, like, I'm talking about Smooth On brand, platinum cured silicone. Not all dolls are made from Smooth On products. Not all dolls are made and the silicone is used that doesn't commingle with different types of silicone paints out there. So we don't really know unless you start reading the ingredients in the paint that was used, which most of us are not artists, so we don't know exactly what paint is used necessarily on our silicone dolls, and then you add the matting and anything else. Any chemical can react with any other chemical, and that's kind of the bottom line that you kind of have to take into consideration when we're talking about care of our silicone dolls or care of our vinyl reborns. Like, ultimately, chemicals react with one another. And if you don't know every single chemical that's used, how do you know if something's going to react? That's kind of the takeaway that I got from a lot of the reading that I did on the research of what breaks down what. If you actually look at silicone and what breaks silicone down, it specifically says do not commingle with latex. It says that inhibits the curing process of silicone. So that in itself tells me that you don't want to commingle the two. You don't want the two touching for any extended period of time, because one will react with the other if the circumstances are right. So for me, that's like enough said. As soon as I saw that latex can prohibit the curing of platinum grade silicone, that tells me everything I need to know. And you can Google all this, you guys, and yes, you can find one that supports one side, one that supports the other. But if you go to the brand and the actual company that your doll is made from, and if you know what kind of silicone is used, you can do that deep dive. Most people won't do that. They're going to take someone's word for it, and if it's a channel, sorry guys, my phone rang, and it should have just bypassed, but it did not. It cut me off. Anyway, so if you're just listening to other people's information that may not be factual based, do your own research before you risk exposing your silicone doll to something that could damage it. And it's the same with, once upon a time, people were saying that putting Vaseline on nipples and bottle nipples and pacifiers was safe to use in a silicone's mouth. That is also not true. So I'll debunk that one while we're here. And for those that say, well, I did it and it didn't bother it, well, you're lucky. because it's petroleum jelly. It's oil based, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, but there's something in it that does slowly eat away at silicone. It's also not good to mix. Again, it's just mixing chemicals. Like, if you don't know what chemicals are in something, why would you want to put it on your doll or stick it inside the doll's mouth? It's like saying that, I don't know why people are so OCD and germaphobe to wash their hands before they handle their dolls. Well, it's important because the oils in our hands can also have a reaction or create shiny spots with our silicone dolls. Same with lotions. Lotions have chemicals in it. That's why we say don't use anything but, now we have all of the matting powders, but prior to all the companies that put out matting powders, people were using Johnson & Johnson cornstarch baby powder, except it wasn't pure cornstarch, it had chemicals in it. So also very bad for silicones. We would see oil leaching from silicones due to using weird off-brands of great smelling baby powders out there. So there are reasons why a lot of us seasoned collectors tend to talk about these things and share like tips of how to keep your silicone doll in like the best condition possible so that you don't have any damage done to it. It's because we've seen people damage their dolls, not on purpose. And that's the gut-wrenching part of it, is if you have a very loved, you have any silicone doll, any doll at all is an investment. We put our money into it. We don't want there to be unnecessary damage done to it, which is why we talk about these things. It's important to just kind of bear in mind to err on the side of caution is always best with silicone, especially because it is a little bit more of a finicky, delicate type of material. It's finicky type of, I don't know, everybody says like, oh, so people say that silicones are delicate. They're not delicate. Well, they are and they aren't. Silicones can be very durable when cared for properly, when not exposed to certain things. That's why we tell you don't put them in the sunlight. That's why we tell you don't put them in extreme heat and extreme cold. Anything can affect the breakdown of it. It does have a shelf life. Everything has a shelf life. And when you expose it to things, its shelf life becomes less and less and less. And for me, I want the shelf life of my dolls to be as long as possible. And the medium itself is somewhat finicky. And there's a reason why it takes artists many years to perfect their painting techniques and their matting techniques. And even some of the best silicone artists out there still struggle with longevity with the paint and the matting because it's a finicky medium. I've heard this out of the mouths of many silicone artists. Some of the best out there have told me, you just don't know. Sometimes it just all goes wrong, and it just is because the medium is itself very finicky. So that being said, my overall answer to this question is no, I do not think that latex is safe to use with our silicone dolls, period. I don't think it's worth the risk of damaging your doll's mouth. I would say if you want to use something that's latex because you have a cute bottle or a cute pacifier you want to use, do what I do. Add the Silpoxy to it and coat it with it, so then you have this layer of protection. And when it's in your mouth, you're not going to notice the difference. You can't tell that it's not latex or that it's covered in Silpoxy. It's just, it's clear coated. So all you're going to see is the pacifier itself. Or, just don't risk it at all. Use those latex items for props. That's what I do. If I find something that I really like, I'll use it as a prop, but I won't obviously put it in my doll's mouth. It's not worth it to me. But again, you as a collector have to weigh the odds of whether or not you're going to be concerned if there could be a reaction. Like, here's another thing. Plastic cling wrap. I used to put plastic cling wrap on her head to put underneath hats. And then I remembered someone saying at some point in time that it could also cause a reaction with silicone. I reached out to Claire Taylor, and she did confirm that she had heard that there was a reaction with vinyl, actually. And yet we all see vinyls wrapped in plastic wrap to be shipped out to keep their hair nice and soft and safe and protected. And so I think that the takeaway is that any of these items can react if the conditions are right for it. And we don't always know when those conditions will be right for a reaction. So I just tend to err on the side of caution, and take all of the precautions that I can to protect her. And I've always done that. And I can tell you that in June, she will be with me 6 years, and she's perfect. This doll doesn't have any paint issues. She doesn't have any silicone issues. She's literally perfect. She is 100, I think she is in just as great condition today as she was the day I got her. And that speaks volumes, because we don't see that with all silicone dolls out there. Because some silicone dolls, whether they have curing issues, they have paint issues, they have matting issues, any number of issues, we can run the gamut of things that can happen to them when they're not properly cared for. And it's not out of people trying to damage their dolls. It's out of the fact that it's ignorance. It's lack of knowing the information to keep them intact and keep them in great condition for a long period of time. And again, then there's the other part of the collectors that are out there that want to, well, basically treat it like a living baby and bathe it and feed it and do all the things to it and handle it a lot, and not treat it as a work of art. And then you're going to get a lot more wear and tear, and the longevity, of course, shortens. So it depends on what kind of collector you are, but you have to be the judge yourself as a collector. Do you want to take the risk? Assess the risk, assess what it means to you. But I will tell you that when the conditions are right, latex will react with silicone and can cause very bad damage with your silicone doll in the mouth, anything that's touching it for any length of time. So if you do choose to continue to use latex nipples and pacifiers, just don't leave them in your doll's mouth for very long. If you want to take a picture, then remove it. But I wouldn't leave it for any extended period of time, because that's when the damage will most likely occur. So anyways, guys, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you'll, find the takeaway of this to be, useful for you if you do collect silicone dolls. It's just good information to have. I don't ever want to come across as like preachy, but yet I want you to understand that I'm sharing the information because I've seen the bad things occur, and I never want to see that happen to any collector. So if I can prevent damage being done and a collector being heartbroken because they just simply didn't know any better, I'm happy to do that. And that makes it worthwhile for me to put out this video. So hopefully you find this helpful. And here's little Monroe, our little model for this video. I still haven't changed her yet. I will probably do that this weekend. I'll probably change her into the zipper sleeper. This is one of them, or maybe we'll try on multiples to see if I like them. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys are having a great Friday, and we will see you very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.